Good morning, Ms. Hayes. How you doing? Thanks again for being part of the process. And we're going to do, we're going to be reading out about half an hour, and we're going to try to keep things moving along within the half hour. And we're going to start, each council person is going to try to ask a question, get them all in, and we're going to start with, we're going to start with Mr. President. We go around.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We're glad you're here. Like any city, Mount Dora has a set of assets, buildings and parks and expensive equipment. What are your thoughts on how best to see that those assets are properly maintained and taken care of what we have, I guess is the question.
Okay. I think a needs assessment is a good start for your facilities. Understanding the condition, if the maintenance has been maintained, the needs assessment plan would reflect that. Then taking the needs assessment plan and applying that to the needs based on how that plan falls out. Developing a 5 to 7 year plan on buildings for modifications and update. Obviously, preventive maintenance is always something that we need to maintain over the course. Usually that's small things. Could be AC, it could be carpeting is something as simple as carpeting or painting, and water system and that type of thing. But a needs assessment's a good start. And then of course along with that, there would be the other plans that are needed from an engineering perspective, and usually a consultant involved just to establish a baseline and then maybe reestablish that baseline 3 to 5 years later, again with another outside needs assessment visual of the buildings, and then inspections in the meantime. So I think that's a positive perspective from the fire inspection perspective. Fire marshal, those usually help on that side of it.
Thanks.
Hello.
Good morning.
How are you? My question is, and a lot of people have been asking me this question, is you are not a city manager, and you're great in finance, and what makes you think that on the first day as a city manager, since you haven't been a city manager, you can run our city of Mount Dora? And I know you've been an interim city manager, and I did ask you the question, how long as an interim? You said 1 to 2 weeks. I guess when your city manager was vacationing there. So I'd like to know, with what you have, compared to everyone else who does have experience, what makes you a fit for Mount Dora?
I still believe I bring to Mount Dora experience of working in the city management environment for 15 plus years now. And then even before that, other county management. And I've been at the director level in each of those. So I've been presented those problems, those tasks that are needed to be looked at, those issues that are a concern to the citizens as well as to the city staff. And I've resolved those. I'm a very decisive manager. I feel there are issues need to be looked at, they need to be resolved, and then you need to implement any other further changes from that. And I do believe I can do that. I do that at this point in time with the city of Oviedo. I'm very proud to say that we have a very good team there. But I do the things that are needed, whether it's acting as a city manager for the 2-week time period or a day time period. When I'm acting, I am the city manager that day, and I take care of things as they are needed, whether it's a water main break, which we had, or other things. So I feel like I can respond to that based on the experience I've had and based on the position I've been placed in with this city, with other previous cities, and with the county when I worked with the county.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hey, experience with outsourcing municipal services. How do you decide if a particular service should be in-house or outsourced?
I think all processes should be looked at. Purchasing Florida statute requires us to, from a purchasing perspective, to look at any type of discipline that's not handled inside your current government with a professional to look at that on the outside as in an outsourcing perspective. So to me, any service that is going to present a report to the council, an independent report is best in most cases. So I believe that you have to look at it from that perspective. If it's going to report a deficiency, it's best that a professional that can truly support that proficiency or inefficiency would report that. So I think if you follow the Florida statute and the requirements that it sets forth on anything that's a consulting or engineering, and the CMA is very detailed within the purchasing requirements of Florida, then you would go outsource for most any consulting services.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
What experience do you have with CRA districts?
Yes, sir. CRA was fortunate enough with the city of Titusville, the city of Winter Garden, and the city of Oviedo to work with CRAs. Several of the cities we established, we had actually have established 2 different CRAs in both of those. And with both of those, with 2 of those, we actually had theaters in which I was an integral part in bringing that piece back to life for the city, downtown city. In several of the cities, we've actually had to revisit and establish our downtown, and I was part of that process. Working with the Attorney General, working with the state of Florida on the filing of the reports. There's a requirement on CRAs to file a business plan and to file, or they call it a CRA plan, but we have to file that. And then you have to make sure you're adhering to that business plan, and your budget has to adhere to it. And there are strict regulations during the process of a budget has to be approved by the CRA before it's presented to the council. So there's several different requirements, and I've been involved in that since approximately 2003-4, and all the cities that I have been fortunate to work at. So I've been involved for quite some time, even in the development of one CRA. So I've gone through that process of the development phase also, involved in TIFs. So I've worked with the increment financing on that side of it, as well as financing and the fact that CRAs, if you have employees working in CRAs, that you have to be very dedicated toward the CRA to truly charge to that. So there are a lot of restrictions when charging personnel and material services to a CRA that you must adhere to. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, how do you explain to people who are against growth why controlled growth and economic development are desirable in the community?
Very good. I think I would first start with the financial impact or the financial piece of that. Why you may wish to do that and explore that. Sometimes showing individuals that type of income or revenue to the city and how the city can benefit from that revenue is a good way of starting off. The other thing is if you're looking to increase your commercial base or your residential base according to the type of city, I would assume that Mount Dora may be looking at a commercial base, but they could also be looking at a residential base, and the growth and how that will affect the city. The other thing is if we're looking for green space, are we looking for parks? Are we looking for just to keep the open space available? Then the positive growth of it, or the smart growth at that point in time. Again, I believe a study from professionals who can look at the area and determine whether or not the land base is qualified, I'll say it that way, to be able to extend to that area from a commercial perspective or building perspective versus a environmental perspective, using it for parklands and that type of thing. So I think a study in place, knowing the cost of either purchasing or annexing, whatever you might be doing, understanding that is important so that you know also from a smart base, is that a direction we need to run in? And then does it follow your economic plan? Have you established a plan that states what the city and the citizens wish to do? Does it meet the requirements of the plan? Understanding where you're at in the plan and have you implemented it? I think those are all important pieces of a smart plan in my mind. Thank you, sir. Good morning. Good morning, ma'am.
So, which of your accomplishments are the strongest evidence that you are results-oriented and focused on achieving improved organizational performance?
The budget process. I spent a little time with my council members explaining, educating, in the sense of trying to explain staff's perspective. We have town meetings looking for the citizens' input on areas some of the money spent. I spend time, starting in March of each year, going through that with all the council members, asking their input and their questions, answering their questions. And I think that is reflected in our budget process. I believe it's reflected in our strategic plan. I believe it's reflected in our concerns from our citizens, because they're not questioning what's going on. It's very transparent. And I believe the transparency of that process has helped alleviate any concerns they have.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
It's a variation on a previous question. Among your obvious documented qualities that are shown in your experience, what dynamic skill do you have that best qualifies you for the position of city manager? What do you want to, this is your time to brag about what's the best?
Okay, thank you, sir. I believe I'm a people person, and I think that does help. I'm very, I'm energetic, but probably the best is I'm organized. I'm a decisive manager. I enjoy the job. I have a passion for it. I feel like I can see the big picture. I can definitely walk up the 30,000 steps that people say, 30,000 feet above, and look at the process with an open mind. I believe there's always 2 or 3 options to anything, and maybe more. There's never just one. And I like to explore those options. I like to listen to the folks that are the experts. I'm not an expert in every field and would not profess to be. But I feel like that I have a very good feel for what's going on. I'm intuitive to the departments in the sense of I believe I understand what's going on with them from time, from day to day. I pay attention, I listen, and I participate, and I make that part of the decision process. And I think that I have the attitude that I enjoy it, and that this is part of who I am and what I wish to do. Thank you.
Ms. Hayes, talk about your first days and weeks on the job. You're the new city manager. What's the priority, first, second, third? What are you gonna do?
I think I thought about this a lot. So over our meetings and even before that, need to have an understanding of the priorities for the city. Those meetings need to be set up, established, whether it's a work session or whether it's individual meetings with the council. I need to know the direction from the council, and a consensus on the direction from the council in the sense of this is truly your direction. I need to have an understanding from staff. I need to know where we stand with directors, where the staff, the employees, at any level, the issues they may have, and then start addressing those issues through the directors and through the managers, and reassessing the employees in the sense of the positions that we all hold, and how we support the community, how we support the citizens, and how we support and do our function. And then I believe there's a response back to the council based on that information, as well as some type of communique that presents to them my plan of action on how to reach the results that are desired based on the direction I'm provided during those meetings. So I think it's a combination of issues. You're not just dealing with the staff, we're dealing with the issues at hand. So are we having issues with the water? Are we having issues with roads? So I think you have to look at all of that also. And what can we solve today that has already been predetermined versus things that we need to solve that there's been no solution developed yet. So what do we need to brainstorm on? So, and then spending time and learning the area, learning the departments, because I believe that all helps you develop a better sense of maybe, the direction you may go as far as your solution.
Thanks.
What is, in the job you currently have, what is your most controversial issue, and how did you handle it?
I actually have communications within my division, so that is Facebook and the Twitter accounts, as well as the website. And when there's a decision made or something that happens in the community, the first thing that happens is it's on Facebook. So, I either have to look to see if the data that we push out, which we typically push data out, that's the city's position on that. We have a communications policy, which we follow. And the policy states that we push the data out. But if there's a controversial issue that needs to be addressed, then I look at how I have to address that. And some of those issues have to be delicately, you have to form your comment in a way that supports the council's desires as well as the city's position and push that information out. And anytime you write something on Facebook or Twitter, it can be interpreted 14 different ways, if not more than that. So you have to be very smart in how you're presenting that data. And the same as with website or the Twitter. 140 characters is not that many characters to send a message to try to convey your message, the city's message. And then I have to keep in mind that that message represents the city. And that's always my first concern.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So my questions.
Yes, sir.
There's one or two you're hoping we ask. What is that question? And what's your answer?
I think the main question is, do I feel like I can do this job? And I do. I feel like I'm more than qualified for this job. I feel like I've worked, for many years to put myself in this position. I have, put myself at different levels of a director so that I can learn those different areas of the city. I spend time researching, at other cities, looking at other, directors, looking at other city managers. I have not honestly applied, but in a couple cities because the desire to move to those cities has to be part of the process. And, so I have been very selective in where I have, applied myself to. This is a place I would like to be. I'm more growing to do. I would love to be a certified ICMA, certified city manager. I would love to continue my education. So those are things that I'm sure you may ask, that yes, I'm interested in those things. I think that forwarding myself as a person and as a professional benefits the city, and I would look forward to doing that. So those would be my questions to myself. Thank you.
What experience do you have with enterprise funds?
Yes, sir. Worked with water, sewer, stormwater, solid waste, 15 years thereabouts. All the cities I've had the privilege of working at, we've had all the funds. They are unique, they are user driven, so there's a user fee associated with those funds. So you're working within the parameters of those revenues, whether they reside in fund balance or whether they reside in the fund as an active dollar, so to speak, for an expenditure use in the future. But I've had a lot of experience with the funds themselves, with the capital improvement projects that those funds drive because of the type of infrastructure they're supporting and the needs. And most of the cities in Florida are older cities, so there are always needs. There's always infrastructure that needs to be updated. So I'm very familiar with each of those funds, including, I did not mention reclaim and reuse, but that's part of the water sewer system in a lot of cities. So I have not had the privilege of working with an independent electric. I did work, when I was with the school board, with a electric company at that time from an electric service perspective. Yes, sir.
How do you define succession planning?
I think you have to, as a director, I'll look at it from that perspective, and as even as a city manager, you are looking for employees that within your organization that have, first of all, I believe, a desire and a drive. They have the ambition to move into a position, and then there is a plan put in place, and it can be set to one person or it can be to many people if you have more than one person who is in that position to move them forward. You start helping to educate them. You help assist them in their planning and their training. You provide direction. You establish the parameters by which you believe they need to follow in order to obtain those skills and those, maybe certifications and that type of thing. I think most of us all have employees who wish to adjust, to be promoted, and I think we have to speak to our employees and talk to them and ask them what position, and give them that chance. Everyone deserves a chance if that's something they can truly portray. They have not just a desire, but also an ability and a capability of learning and taking over. And then you continue to support that year after year until you have them in that position to take that next step, whether it's a promotion in-house or unfortunately sometimes promotion somewhere else.
So, I know that, you live just down the road, whatever, and I'm sure that you know a little bit about Mount Dora. So from your knowledge of us as a city, what do you see as the most critical challenge, and I know we probably have several, but critical challenge / opportunity, facing our city, and what professional experience do you possess that suggests that you would be able to help us meet those or prepare for those?
Sure. I believe an older city has an infrastructure issue, whether it's water or roads, it's infrastructure. And I believe Mount Dora, looking from the big picture down, that's one of the challenges in Mount Dora. I believe that there are reports out there, needs assessment reports, and I can go to that. Or the other thing that I believe needs to happen is a rate sufficiency report to see the financials based on what's happening with the revenue coming in to support capital projects. Okay, that's where the rate sufficiency. So we come in to tell me that. I think that knowing that the city as a whole is operating fine from an infrastructure perspective lets us expand other items. So if the roads are in good shape, if the water system, sewer system's in good shape, if the electrical system's in good shape, okay, now we're into the buildings, again, still infrastructure to some degree. Looking at it from the ground up, I think is important, and I think that's where I would start looking at it from. That doesn't dismiss other issues in other areas, but if those are solid, then we can work with the other items that may be of concern.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you. I think it was either in your resume or just me visiting with you, you mentioned you currently manage a staff of 8 during budget time and a staff of 3 at other times. How will you transition to managing a staff of several hundred?
Sure. Well, other cities also have larger staffs, so I've transitioned from that from city to city accordingly. And again, I believe it is your management style and your taking the time to explain and to be an example of your management style, which I think is very important, and taking the time to meet and understand the employees' needs, and then you portray your style through your directors, and it goes from there to the managers and to the staff. I think it's important to be an example, and if I'm not an example of what the expected, whether it's how my work ethics are or how I present myself, then the employees are not going to be any different. So I think that's very important, and I think that can be done in a short time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We're getting close to the half hour, so we'll just, maybe just wrap up, so maybe instead of getting to another question, we'll start again, but, I want to thank you again for coming today and being part of our process, and, you came here to the city, and you're close by naturally, and, are you still interested in being part of the system and going forward with the selection process?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate Mayor, yourself, as well as council members taking the time to meet with me and to include me in the process. It would be an honor to be considered the city manager for Mount Dora. I would look forward to moving over here and being part of the community and joining the community in all of its efforts of changing it. Change is a word that's tough for some folks, and that's okay. We can change it one step at a time, and I appreciate the opportunity you've given me to be able to speak with you today, and it's been an honor.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
do it again.
5 minutes.
Because we're normally a rush ready. So we can go through that. I think we can do it.